Yo, pair sharpens and retrogrades. The show is back after being on the road for 2 full weeks and having tons and tons of interesting professional and very unprofessional things happen on the road. I'm back, and the show is back, and now we have lots to talk about. And today's an Ask Me Anything show for those of you who want to ask me anything, particularly those super chatters who want to ask me anything. And we're on the last day of January. That's not really good news, but that's still that's always good news to be out of the worst month. We've got, one toe in and one toe out still of January. But seriously, a lot happened. So I'm going to tell you all about that. We're going to talk about it. We're going to answer any questions you might have. I'm going to tell you how it was going on Joel Webbin's show. That was really cool in Texas. And then the next week going on Gerald's show through Louder with Crowder. That I did just on the way back, just a couple of days ago. And I'm not sure if that show is out yet. We got to check whether or not, as of yesterday evening, it was not. Gerald apologizes, or what people call Gerald apologetics. We'll see. Okay, so that's what we have for you today. And I also have an announcement as to how a means you can watch What a Woman Is for free. This is the first time I can really deliver this to you. Is there's a way that you're going to be able to watch What a Woman Is for free on February the 4th and February the 5th, those 2 days alone, in honor of coming Valentine's Day. You're going to be able to watch it for free. We'll talk about that on the show. If you don't have the $1.99, if your couch doesn't have change underneath it and you have no piggy bank, or your piggy bank is there, but it is utterly empty, then you could do it that way. So Steph is also here, and we all have this terrible, terrible cold. I was having coughing fits on Gerald Apologizes, but I figured it's better to come to you soon and a little bit sick than really, really late and all healed up. So I don't know. That's what we got today. Now, it's almost February. We do need your help, and that's why we do these 3 times a year Ask Me Anything shows. I think we only did 2 all of 2025. But now we're gonna do them every once in a while because it's helpful for us. We have to keep the lights on because people do have questions, so it satisfies the curiosity for you. And reason number 3, because it's helpful for us. I don't like to bug you about locals. If you write in rules for retrogrades on locals, that's how you can become a monthly local supporter. You get tons of free stuff. You get free content earlier than everyone else gets it when it's a pre-recorded show. You can interact with me on locals. You get the free stuff. We'll give you free access to stuff like the movie. When the movie comes out, we'll give you sneak peeks. Half the time I'm even pulling my locals family as a kind of, straw audience for things like show topics. If I ever have a draft of something, I send it to them. We were flirting with giving them a look at the What a Woman Is first version of the movie. But for legal reasons, we couldn't do that. But stuff like that, you get lots of interaction. You get a book or 2 here and there. It's a really good deal, and we interact a lot. So become a local supporter today. I've been kicked off of Patreon. I've lost the last teaching job I had, the last teaching gig, and all for just teaching the Catholic truth on Catholic sexual ethics or on ethnicity, for telling who is actually a terrorist organization. If you want to support the show, but you can't do locals on a monthly basis, then buy a book. I mean, I've self-published 3 books. I've published 2 for Sophia Institute Press, and the 2 books I published for them are my 2 solo efforts. Catholic Republic, on the correct way to do Christian nationalism, states' rights Christian nationalism, the only way to do it in America that's not a LARP. Then, of course, the case for patriarchy. how to do the oikonomia of your household. And I have 3 other books besides, but consider checking out Sophia Institute Press today. They were very brave. They stood by me through a lot of hard times when it wasn't as popular to say that Christianity is the patriarchy. Even just 5 years ago when the book came out, they stood by us. 6 years ago when we had a rough year before that because people were trying to cancel the book before we'd even finished writing it. It's hard to written a book before you've written it. So anyway, so that's our show today. So we're going to do Ask Me Anything for super chats. The larger the super chat, the better. And this is something I will mention a little more aggressively today because it's the beginning of the year. We are sick, and I'm feeling extra vulnerable. I'm in touch with my feminine side here, with the passive.
Oh boy,
passive rather than the active principle. I'll say this: look, we get this request a lot. How do people donate to the Gordon family? Not to what we're doing here, but to Tim, the man inside. There is a man inside here, and he bleeds. He sometimes, very ever so rarely, he weeps. Not so completely rarely, he can even get gassy. There's a real man. That's what I'm saying. And when you want to talk about that man, when you want to give to that man, then donor box is the way to do it. And that's on timothyjgordon.com. Seriously, I'm joking, but people do ask because they know our story, our saga with Abigail. When I went out to do a PhD at the Pontifical Gregorian University many years ago, many moons ago, Steph got pregnant out there, had our first, and she was pregnant for the duration of the time that I was studying. But at the end, once she had the baby, and I was working on my thesis for the licentiate, baby, our eldest, Abby, was born with needing many brain surgeries. And so we came back with a little neurology ward, little Abigail, and I didn't have the PhD, and it was a rough time. And we've gotten back on our feet from the proverbial fetal position. But people always that know us at our churches, that know our situation, I've told stories about Abby, the great saint of the household, even what happened to me at the beginning of 2012's Lent, when the Holy Spirit really actually spoke through Abby. I don't talk about it too often because it sounds kooky, but it's the only really kooky thing that's ever happened to me, and it's real. People ask, and that's how you can donate. You can donate the P.O. box on the website, the Hattiesburg P.O. box on timothyjgordon.com, or just click donate. And we do that. We take donations. That's from you to me, the man who gets real, who gets weepy occasionally, who gets gassy, who gets fitful. Who yearns, the man who yearns.
The man who yearns.
That's how you can do that. I
actually have the Greg on the screen right now. Interestingly, Tim would take classes. This is like our young married years. It was really fun. That university there in Rome is only about, maybe a 90-second walk from the Trevi Fountain.
Yep.
So a lot of times you'd be in class. I remember you'd go in, and I would just be there in that courtyard, just kind of like drawing or hanging out, getting a gelato. So yes. Amazing times.
Yeah,
those times.
I took a couple of classes. I degreed from the Greg, but I took a couple of classes at the, because the Greg is the Jesuitian Pontifical University in Rome. It is, I didn't know it at the time, it's where they hatched Shadow Council, the Knights in 1963 and 1964, where they plotted the evils of Vatican II, the bad guys, the Jesuits. I did degree from there. I got a PhL, and I would have gotten a PhD. But I took some courses for credit at the local Dominican Pontifical University, the Angelicum, which is a short walk, and probably 8-minute walk away, 7-minute walk. There are more English language classes, so when I was still breaking the language in, it was nice to take one in English. All my classes were in Italian at the Greg, aside from Latin, which I took in English. Latin and Italian would have been tough. But I took a Thomas and Islam class with a very famous professor there, the French professor at the Ange. I felt like I was in Jedi Academy. This was Father Elul. I've talked to fans who were there at the time, one or two, that took a class from Father Elul at the Ange. very serious Dominican priest who would walk into class speaking Arabic, all about St. Thomas versus the Arabs, St. Thomas versus the liberals at the University of Paris in those great debates on Aristotelianism in the 13th century. And yeah, I felt like I was being trained to be a Jedi. It was the most memorable class I took in Rome, even though it wasn't at my degree granting institution. And once I got a cold like this, a bad one, and Steph went to class for me, and she's like, that was so cool.
Also, he was so mean to me.
Yeah,
he was a brilliant guy, but he was so mean.
Yeah.
Like, I am not somebody who likes to like enter into a room and be like, you know, noticed, you know what I mean? So it's obvious already that like I was not part of the class. And so Tim was feeling so bad that day. I was like, I'll go and take notes for you, because it was a big deal. Like we were, you know, living off of, you know, limited funds, and every class was so important, and he was feeling so sick. So I was like, I'll go and take notes for you in class today. So I was just there. The guy, like, to my absolute horror, like took roll. And I was like, oh, how am I going to handle this? So he calls out Tim's name. I raised my hand, and you would think most people would like kind of put things together, like, oh, this is somebody here for him. He's under the weather. He was so flabbergasted.
Well, it's not typical to do that.
But yeah, but I was just
you
like,
and I do shit our own way.
I was just like, he's under the weather. I'm here taking notes. Don't mind me, type thing. And he reacted so like confused and befuddled, and he didn't know what was going on. And it felt like at last I had to keep explaining what was going on. And while I was there, I don't think
a brilliant yet abrupt man.
I don't think I've ever been so mortified in my entire life. It was so bad.
And he would do that in class. So, you know, very brilliant guy. I don't want to get Father Elul mad at me. I've had that happen.
Sorry,
anyway, I pissed him off during the oral exam when I told him I have a conflicting exam at the Greg. He said, just come after you're done. I'll be here all day anyway. And at the Greg, in philosophy, you do oral exams. It's actually much, much better than writing a paper. And actually much more thorough as a testing method, easier for the grader, easier for the gradee, and harder to BS your way through. I did very well on my oral exams, except for this one, which conflicted with a Greg exam. I'm like, well, I'm going to have to take the exam, then walk all the way over here. He got very angry at me because I showed up when I said I would after, you know, he said, no big deal. Just come when you're done with your Gregorian exam. And I showed up and he wasn't there, and he was in his office, and I went to this little room where you could call the prof offices, and he yelled at me and hung up on me. And I thought, oh dear, because I haven't received a grade yet. Then he emailed me later and he said, come in at this time. And I was like, okay. So I came in the next day to take the exam, and the whole time he was just doing this. He didn't look at me. He was just pinching his nasal bump or whatever this is called, and just doing that. I mean, he wouldn't even talk to me. And he ended up giving me a not horrible grade, but not a great one. I think 8.8 out of 10. So that was actually one of my lowest grades on exams there. And he probably hates me. I'm just going to cut to the chase. That's the way that story ends. Now, I also would like I don't get personal too often, but I've been telling you about the man inside. There is a man inside this shell, and his name is Timmy. and
boomers love to call you Timmy when they're mad at you.
Yeah,
by the way.
Kevin
Say,
Durant.
listen here, Timmy.
Kevin Durant called me Timmy like a boomer when he was mad at me at Twitter. That was another thing that I think happened over this 2-week layoff. Is I got the attention of Kevin Durant, on NBA player, who's known for going after his own defenders on Twitter. He called me Timmy, but there's an actual Timmy inside. And so we've been opening up. I don't typically do too much of the personal stuff, but so this trip, I want to talk a little bit about this trip, as we've stumped for locals. We've stumped for our books. We stumped for donor box on timothyjgordon.com. If you know, we could always use that leg up. And let me tell you the kind of stuff we save only for locals. And I'm going to tell you some very private Gordon family facts that we usually save only for actually, we usually don't even tell the locals. But this is the kind of stuff you can get. Actually, I just spilled the coffee. Is there like a wipe rag?
That's my job.
No,
Call in the woman.
No, sorry.
I'll get it.
There's TP over there. So Steph's beloved, very, very, very close grandmother died. I think I mentioned this before we hit the road. Thank you, Steffi. And, this lady had raised Steph for a period of her youth, and we had taken her in 2016 and 2017. And Steph actually lived with her grandma when we were first dating, as she moved from Texas to California. We have a very interesting saga when we began dating. It's a whole other story. In Steph's grandma let her live there for a year and a half as a young woman, because Steph and I came from the same friend group, and we were each dating other people. And when we got together, and everyone kind of knew we were really close, but nothing inappropriate. She's dating my friend. I was dating lots of different girls. When we, after everyone broke up and the timing finally worked out, it was clear we were going to get together. We did. We were starting to get together. But I was graduating college then. And both of us had California connections. Both of us were sort of half California Texans, half Californians. And I was moving back out to California. So she had been looking for a way to go out to California as well. And this one's a long story and bears some on the other personal story I'm going to tell you. But, because her dad was out there in California, but also her grandma, who she'd lived with for a time when she was very young. And her grandma said, opened up her house to her. So when we were dating, and I was in Bakersfield and then LA, I started a semester later going to Loyola Marymount. Steph had a free house to go to in Orange County while we kind of figured it out as a couple, because we've been friends for so long. We were dating, and we knew we were probably going to get married. And I wish I'd married this girl the second we started dating. That's one of my few regrets in life. It's not a big one because we got together anyway, but I wish we'd done the romantic thing and just skipped dating and gone directly to marriage after we figured it out. But we're extra grateful to Steph's grandma, because not only did she raise her for a time, not only did she let Steph live there when she was an adult, but she's also very nice to me as I would visit. And in 2016, she fell very, very ill and had been really ill the latter 10 years of her life before she died at 90. Right? She was 90?
Yeah, she made it to 90. Now, this is a woman who is full-blooded Mexican, always had cardiovascular problems. It's incredible. I thank the Lord she made it to 90. Yeah. We did not think she was going to make it that long. I mean, it was really a blessing. I'm like, dang, this is incredible. My grandma made it to 90. I'll put some pictures up on the screen here in a second.
The Mexicans, our neighbors to the south, notable for many things. Great cardiovascular health, or metabolic health is not one of them typically. So, and Steph's half Mexican, so it was cool. I had an abuelita, and in 2016 when she fell ill, we took her in. More immediate members of the family would not, which is strange.
Yeah, because most people are like, well, why are the third generation from her, the elderly bringing in the elderly? And it's because of the breakdown of the family, honestly. Yeah. I wish I had a better answer for you, but it really is just because the family is broken down. My grandma, who was I was very close to, always was very, very close to, she needed a place to be. And thank God for my husband, because he, you came right up to me and you're like, it will obviously, if no one else has taken her in, we're going to do it. And it really was such a blessing, such a great time in our lives, because she got to be with us for a year.
Almost a year. Yeah. Almost just under a full year. Look, she's a Lakers lover. As I was at the time. Now it was becoming clear LeBron was going to end up there. He's finagling even then, but she was a Kobe and a Lakers and a Showtime Lakers lover, like me, my whole life. Who watched lots of basketball, had lots of late night tea. This woman here, Steph, really nursed her back to health. And first off, we just kind of want to do a little obit for Patsy Abeta Sanders. She did end up getting remarried later in life, but we'll call her Patsy Abeta because that's her Christian name. And Steph really, she was supposed in the sense of what was putatively held to die while at our house. It was essentially she'll be with you for a few months and she'll die in your house. None of her 4 sons had her living with them. Her younger brother, Steph's great uncle, did not have her living with him. And so we stepped up. We said, well, of course. And Steph did lots of intensive home nurse duties the first couple months. I can tell you, some of them were intensive. But she was getting better. It's funny, old Mexican ladies, even ones that seem like they are on their way out, they recuperate. And that's what she did. And it became a more and more fun time, a less and less morose time. And as she rehabilitated and her spirits became more convivial, I will say, she graduated. We had a better time. I had lots of friends over. Brian, my friend Brian, the bandit Cobb, professional fighter, was taught at the same Catholic school as I did at the time. He would come over. We'd have game night. Many of my best friends today knew her. Jocelyn's in the movie.
She used to love when all your buddies would come over to watch the Lakers game. She'd ask me, Mija, are the boys coming this weekend? She loved it. She absolutely loved it.
Yeah. The Lakers games were actually what we would do the next year. She started out and we were watching the Warriors Cavs playoffs that summer. Anyway, so to kind of land the plane here, it's an ugly truth of life, parish orphans and retrogrades, that with these end of life issues, I've learned through some legal research and what's happened over the last 2 weeks that often with end of life issues, no good deed goes unpunished. So what happened in 2016 and 2017, as she recovered, she wanted to go back to her house in Buena Park, California. We said, you know what? That's what you want to do. That's fine. You're always welcome to keep living with us. This has been an enjoyable time. She's a perfect house guest. And we said, if you ever need to come back, we're not going to let your relatives put you in another nursing home. You come live with us. And she said, okay, that's cool. But right now I'm going to go back to my fully owned, fully paid off Orange County home. And there was tension with other members of the family. I won't say exactly who, but there were tension who wanted to sell it because Orange County exists in a real estate bubble. And even her very, very, very small home, because fully paid off, was worthwhile. And so you get into all kinds of fiduciary tensions, future tensions about present net value and clashes with the remaindermen and things like that you see a lot. I studied this stuff in wills and trusts. And we were resisting, we were helping her to resist the other members of the family who were trying to basically force sale her house. We were successful for a year. She did return home to her house, but eventually the I'll say evil forces, or self-serving, let's say that, forces in the family prevailed, forced the sale of her home, wouldn't allow her to return to live with us.
And she would call me begging. Remember that? It was so sad. Yeah. Mija, I want to come home. She would always say, I want to come home. And so, it was
and come live with us in our new home in Mississippi.
She loved the kids. It was horrible.
Yeah. So it was a terrible, terrible deal. So, everyone's got all this stuff going on behind the scenes. It's just one of many bits of drama behind the scenes going on at the Gordon household. But this is in 2020 after we moved out here. We were trying to get her out here, having arguments with ironic parties, many of the parties who wouldn't take her, many of those same parties who wouldn't take her in 2016 when she was at death's door now wanted her. For what motive, I can't exactly say. Was it probably equally self-interested to their denial in 2016? I assume so. But basically stopped talking to everyone in that side of the family in 2020 because she wanted to come here. She's like, they're selling my home, but they won't let me go choose where I want to live. It's rough, but that's the breaks when you entrust your estate to the wrong people, when you give something like medical power of attorney to the wrong people. Mm-hmm. It's like the fox in the hen house.
And that's a public service announcement right there.
Yeah.
Like, gosh, you guys, if you're elderly and you have family discord or anything like that whatsoever, please pick the person to enact your trust or your estate that will actually abide your wishes and do what you ask. Because having gone through that this weekend, we'll tell you what happened. It was crazy, but it was when you trust the wrong people who are self-serving or who have a vendetta or who are angry or spiteful, they don't care about your wishes. They just use your death as like a cudgel to go after other people. And I would just say, like, if you're in that stage of life right now, Tim and I are even thinking about this on the way back. It's like, gosh, we have to get like our affairs in order properly so that, there's not any of this nastiness and ugliness that happens, when end of life issues happen.
Oh, part of that's character.
Yeah, well, character, of course. We don't have.
So we're not
like
saying
that.
who these people are.
Yeah.
I mean, there are lots of bad actors in this little true life play.
Yeah.
Lots to go around, but we're not going to say exactly who it was. But it was a lot of them. And no good deed goes unpunished. So basically for what happened in 2016 and 2017 for caring for, when no one else would, then for guaranteeing once she was well again that she could go back to her home and that no one was forcing the sale of her home for the time being. We ended up not prevailing a couple years later around the time all my drama was happening and we moved here from California after all the BLM stuff. Well, they got her, and she was staying somewhere, and it does not seem, in my opinion, that she could communicate with us. So what's really sad, and
That's also my contention.
Yes.
That's some other people in the family's contention.
Yeah. Well, literally, Steph is like her favorite person in the family with good reason. And really heard from her almost none between 2020 and 2025. She died on December the 26th, 2025. We're really sad about it. Steph's mom also was a great help to us and my older brother on this trip. We stayed with my older brother. Steph's mom, we picked her up in Texas in the RV, and she went out there with her former mother-in-law, however that works. But just great help. Basically, what point in the story was I at? She really did not have, I'm trying to proceed somewhat cautiously. We had not been able to get our calls. We'd been prevented from talking to her over the course of the last week. Returned mail, which is how Steph found it. Even my mom, who loved her, had not apparently been able to get mail through to her. Steph's family, more immediate family members on, her coaxial level of the tree branch of the family tree had been told, don't tell Stephanie info, blah, blah, blah. So this is an ugliness at the end of life when you have ignoble characters, in my view, caring for an elderly. And we found out the day after Christmas this year, Steph did, through a returned letter, a return to sender Christmas card to her grandma. Her grandma was staying at one of these parties' houses. She had to call around, and she found out that her grandma had died on December the 5th. So 3 weeks to the day before. And so after that, we were planning to go to this funeral, had to get a lawyer, had to send demand letters, had to get TROs issued. And we traveled all the way from Mississippi to California, which is what this trip was in its main point of origin. We accomplished some other really good stuff, but traveled all the way across the country. It was an open question whether or not some of these bad faith parties, in our view, were going to let us in. We'd RSVP'd, we'll be at the funeral and the wake. Then they'd rescinded that. Then they seemed to rescind the rescission once our
you have
lawyer...
not lived unless you have traveled across the country to go to one of the most important persons in your live's funeral. And as you're sitting in the lobby, you're wondering
the funeral?
Yeah, you're wondering. As this is what happened. We literally showed up properly dressed, ready to go. Of course, half my Mexican relatives are in Mexican wedding shirts, and they looked like they were there for a quinceañera.
Well, the other half were in t-shirts.
Yeah. But anyway, we're in the lobby and we're waiting to see, are we actually going to accomplish this feat? Are we going to actually here's the day that we've been waiting for forever. Spend
a bunch of money, we didn't much have on attorneys just to cajole our way in there. And it had been, it'd been a long time since we found out, December 26th to almost January 26th. It'd been almost a full month that there'd been this struggle. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were in the middle of a sentence.
No, I was just saying, like, it's
finally show up.
Wild.
It
Yeah.
crescendos, and what did you want to share?
Yeah, no, we get there.
We were turned away.
We get there, and we literally
were turned away.
It was like, and the reason we're sharing this with you guys too, because it was just like, like our whole ministry, or our whole thing. I hate saying ministry, but our whole thing is just like the family, the breakdown of the family, and it feels a little bit hypocritical sometimes, because people will write us emails and they'll be like, "Oh, you guys have it all worked out, and you have all these things." Like, no, trust me, we deal with lots of stuff too. We're not the reason that Tim and I are so close to one another, and we're so adamant about the patriarchy, the foundations of the household, the role of the father, the role of the mother, how you properly raise children in light of Christ, is because of this stuff. It's because of this stuff. And I want to let you know, like, we deal with this stuff too. And we deal with it in a very severe way, because I think a lot of family members have seen what we've said and what we've done, like our work with the documentary and things like that. And I don't know what it is, but we've had a lot of crosses. But yeah, so we're sitting in this lobby. The funeral home is like literally coming up to me, representative for the funeral home, and they're like, "We've never seen this before. Your family member is clearly like just spiteful." I mean, they're like laughing at the person that was actually keeping me away from my grandma, like behind his back the whole time. They're just like, "This guy is..."
When he walked in.
Yeah, when he walked in, he looked frantic and crazy. And it was like, it was the type of situation where, yeah, we ended up getting turned away. And I was just like, okay, very upset, because obviously my grandma's a huge person in my life. We were there for her when nobody else in the family wasn't.
Well, your grandma was like your paternal side, your distaff side of the family. The distaff is your mother's side of the family. Your mom was like your mom. You were raised with your mom, but you weren't raised with your dad. Horrible divorce. There were teen parents to you. The closest thing you had to a parent on your dad's side of the family was your grandma.
With my grandma, yeah.
So it's almost like a kind of Black American situation. Your grandma more than your dad.
Yeah,
right?
No, for sure. Like my mother raised me, and it was great. My mom, this is another thing. Like, this trip was a disaster from the perspective of the fact that we got to go see my grandma. We didn't get to see my grandma. Yeah. Like, the family was even so spiteful as to, like, after like the funeral had ended, I'd called a few days later and I was like, "Well, can I just go and see her for 5 minutes?" And they're like, "No, we have direct orders. You're not even allowed anywhere near her." I'm like, "This
not
is
the funeral
crazy.
Home's fault. That's the law. California Health and Safety Code, section 7100 and 7100.1. I lawyered the shit out of this thing. We paid for a lawyer. We did all this stuff. It was not the funeral home's fault. It was the fault of really the two men in charge, who I haven't named.
And one of them is Catholic. Yeah. One of them is a Catholic who goes to mass and is married to a Catholic woman. It's insanity. But anyway, long story short, we're gonna get to these super chats here in a second. The trip was a disaster from that perspective. But I know my grandma, if hopefully, she had last rites, because some people I know are asking in chat because I heard she was remarried and that sort of thing. So I'm hoping that we
think she had last rites. We're not sure.
Okay, we're not sure. I'm sorry, honey. You want to finish the story? The Bloss man is here.
Oh, the Bloss man. We need. It's so cold in South Mississippi. We need our gas back on so we can have fires in the fireplace. We didn't. Came home and the gas was out. We have one of those gas lamps, and I guess that ran the rest of the gas off, so we can't have fires. And we've been cold since we got home, and being cold when you have a cold is terrible. So Steph's taking care of that. So what happened was, we get to this lobby, talk to one of the two parties who had been equivocating who was actually in charge, because it is a statutory thing in the state of California, and in most states, I think. The 7100 designee who actually controls, you could come to the funeral, you can't. Most people in troubled families, most families are somewhat troubled, like the Virgin Mary said at Fatima, but not this troubled. Most people are like, okay, well, I'm going to bar you if you do anything. If you put a toe out of line, if it's the 7100 designee, they'll say, if you start looking like you're going to make trouble, then I'm gonna have you thrown out. And the 7100 designee in California can do this to troublemakers. This is the first time ever you had a non-troublemaking pregnant mother of 8, pregnant with her 8th, and her husband show up, suited up, ready to just go put a rosary in the coffin and pray a rosary for her and then leave, that the party, the designee, was so spiteful that the designee, whoever it was of these two actors, they were making it difficult for us to ascertain which one of the two relatives was actually the designee. It was part of the little cover they ran over the month when we were sending them demand letters from our lawyer. So we got out there, start talking to the one that might be the designee, and he makes it sound like, okay, we can go in. So we're just waiting to go into the room. And then all the other family, the bad actors, show up at once. And it was wild for Steph because these are close family members. And then the other one that I guess actually had the 7100 power walks over and is like, I told you to bar them at the door. And they're like, yeah, we're not Chuck Norris in the Delta Force. You know, we're a fucking funeral home, dude. Like, this is a Wendy's restaurant. He's like, and also they look like they're here to grieve. And you have wild flowing hair down your back, Injun Joe. And you look like you're going to a luau. You know, did you mistake the ride over here for a plane to Hawaii? Or, and he's being a jackass to everyone, and they're like getting mad at him. And I was like, okay, this actually works in our favor, you know?
Yeah.
Because he looked like such a jackass. And so then, you know, a half hour later, they're like, you guys are really respectful. You guys are being really cool. We've never seen something this bad. We deal with this.
This is in Cypress, California.
Sometimes this is in Cypress, California. Tons of Mexicans everywhere. And even amidst all those Mexicans in Cyprus, in black funerals,
like,
you know, where fist
twerking.
fights break out, people twerking, people crip walking up to the coffin. They said this is the worst we've ever seen. Where this guy or these two guys are just being spiteful because they gave us all these orders. We're under law. We have to follow. Not only are they not allowing you in, normally we mediate at these black and Mexican funerals. But there's nothing to mediate here. He won't let you look at the body after they're gone. He won't let you do anything. So just horrible bad actors. Arguably the same bad actors, maybe according to the story, that denied their own closer relative than grandmother. And we had to step in and force sale of a house force. It is stranger than fiction. So we drove all the way from Mississippi to California. Couldn't even see the body. You know, I got my wife. We lawyered up, got her in the next room. I think the one who sees everything knows that. You know, it's a work of mercy to honor the dead, right? Maybe it's not. Is that a spiritual work of mercy? Well, we did our best to honor the dead, and there's one who's the judge of that, and so it was good. You were saying, you were like.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you're not alone out there. So this is all to say, like, all of us are in the thick of it with the family dysfunction. Yeah. All of us have these, like, you know, I don't know, this crazy of story. Maybe I win the cake on that one, but a lot of us are just, the breakdown of the family is so complete. It's kind of everywhere. I'm seeing in chat, people are like, yeah, we've had similar situations with end of life issues. Wow. I will say this though, it was a great trip. Insofar as, like,
your mom was great.
My mom was with us the whole time. She was in the RV with us. It was great. She was like, man, she was so helpful.
She was having fun.
She was having fun.
We all stayed the big traveling circus at my older brother's house in California. The brother you guys don't know, not my younger brother Dave, but my older brother Greg. Had a great time. Cousins hadn't seen each other in quite a while. We're separated by quite a distance.
We were able to extend the trip because when we got turned away from the funeral, we were originally going to plan, to leave. But then the winter storm happened. So we were able to stay with Tim's brother for another, 4 or 5 days, it was a great, man. Despite all the funeral stuff, it was, I do kind of, in a weird way, it's like, thank you to these dysfunctional, crazy Injun Joes who, like, destroyed my grandma's funeral and her wishes, because it ended up being an incredible time, like, really, with your side of the family. So it ended up making, God works in mysterious ways. It really did make, like, the other parts of the trip so much better. My mom being there, helping us, like, so, and she was so supportive. Like, when it was happening, it was just nice to have somebody with me that was like, I know all these people. My mom knew them since she was 16 years old. She's like, yeah, these people are exactly who you think they are. Like, this is how they always acted. And, it was just nice to have, just the my mom there and your family. It was great for that.
And Greg saw my parents there in Southern California, but really, it was a great time. My bro was able to go to my nephew's basketball game or two. We missed another being able to see a second game, but he's we're a great basketball family. I'll say that. So it was great to see him in action, best player on his high school team. So it was cool. It was really cool. And then the cousins all got to hang out, and we had lots of late night chats, and it had been a long time coming. So, and then on top of that, so I was able to hit Joel Webbin's show in Hutto, Texas, not DFW. I'll tell you about that in a second. I thought it was DFW. It was, I'll give you the full, we were picking up Steph's mom on the way out, moving west from Hattiesburg through DFW, obviously on to California, Manifest Destiny, Westward Hell. And we stayed a few nights. And then the day before we were going to launch out, with Steph's mom, I was like, oh, well, I have to go do Joel Webbin tomorrow, then we'll leave. I thought he was in DFW. He's in Hutto, Texas. That's almost Austin. So the day before we had to travel so many days in the car, I had to do a basically all day trip. We just left the kids at Steph's mom and kicked launching to California one extra day because I had to travel basically 3 hours down and 3 hours back up in the same day. But it was a great appearance on Joel Webbin. Go see that if you didn't. Those of you on Twitter, I was saying, hey, treat this like my little appearance to hold you over. You can't do without your retrograde fix of the show and Gordon material. So treat the Webbin appearance as that one. And then on the way back, just a couple days ago, we stopped by Crowder. That actually is in the DFW area. That's not in Hutto, Texas. And did Gerald apologizes. That show might come up today.
That's fun.
But I mean, man,
it was a good trip, man. Yeah. It was a good trip. Our kids got to play in the snow. We went through the winter storm. And so, I just want to take this opportunity to just say, please do pray for my grandma's soul, Patsy Abeta. She was a fallen away Catholic. I have heard that she did receive last rites. Again, this is the side of the family that does everything back asswards. So I'm not sure if that was even done properly. So please do pray for her soul. She did die last month. There she is on the screen. So she was a great woman. She was a major force in my life. And again, I'm going to thank my husband who's sitting right here for taking her in and, helping to nurse her back to health as well, when basically no one else in the family, including a bunch of nurses, by the way, when she first needed help, like everyone kind of turned their back, and she always remembered you for that. And loved you so much for you being there when nobody else really was, and you didn't take anything in return. And it was just that time with her was an amazing time. So again, we'll get to these super chats. Please do pray for Patsy Abeta. She was a solid lady. Taking her in for the year, I think, was easier than the last month. Taking her in for a year was easier than the last month of what we went through. There she is at the kitchen table with the kids playing Monopoly when she was with us. Oh yeah. Remember so that? Many game nights. That was a good time. Yeah, we had a grand old time when she was there. The last month was tough though, because it's like, I don't want to pay for a lawyer to just make people do decent stuff, but yeah, that's life. And normies a lot of times have this trope that your doctor's your friend and lawyers are scumbags. It's the exact opposite in my view. Lawyers will basically be, now they're like a fraternity best friend, a pay for best friend. But they're actually like a best friend because you can call them basically any time of the night. They think about your case all day. Your doctor is not your guy. He's not on the employ unless it's like you're a billionaire or something, you have your own doctor. They give you the red tape treatment even if you are well off. I don't know. So lawyers are good, but you don't want to have to pay one. If you find yourself needing a lawyer, and we have several times in the last 6 years, as many of you know, and it means you're in a spot of trouble. But they are. It means you're related to Mexicans. It means that's one of the many things it can mean. I'm joking. Okay. To be fair, we have a friend. I'll say his name is Andrew. And I won't give the last name, but his family of Mexicans are respectable, moral, virtuous, kindly, loving people. So not everybody has family like me. like his family is like legit. Like they would never bar the person who took in their mother from a funeral. Yeah. Let's just say it that way. Yeah. Okay. We're being abstract now. We're being abstract. Yeah. Okay. Let's get to these super chats. So please pray for our family. Again, we're always dealing with some crazy stuff.
There's always drama.
There's always drama.
Always
drama for everybody. All right, super chats. Here we go. If you had a measurable metric by which a young man can judge himself to be ready for courting, what would they be? Coming from a 17-year-old who doesn't know how to measure it. Thank you.
Well, I would say you should. Most 17-year-olds are prepared for dating. And you can use the more erstwhile term courting, but it's just dating. It means you are literally, you should have the capacity at 17 or 18, whatever the household rule is, to date someone. Do you have self-control? Do you have self-restraint? But I don't want to make it like you have to go check the box. It's if you're a 17-year-old young man. And I would say 16-year-old young man, if 16 is when you start dating too. You're a young man when you're 15. But are you that age? You ought to have a measure of self-control so you can control yourself, even if the adults or the chaperones walk out of the room, which should be able to happen, and you are the master of the situation. I'm not going to use the old master of your domain Seinfeld joke, but it's the main thing. And do you have to have like a path to a 40-hour-a-week job? No, you don't have to yet. You can figure that stuff out we're not Puritans, right? The main thing is virtue ethics. The main thing is not like a 401k and a life path. That's let the Puritans have that Protestant work ethic where you need a plan for a house when you're dating a girl when you're 17. That's not right. A plan for a house, college fund for all of your potential future children, a 401k for you and your retirement, a retirement home. Also, that's nonsense. You need virtue. And the virtue you need is, one, self-restraint. And you're going to hear that from a lot of Catholics, right? Because fornication's bad, blah, blah, blah. But what you're not going to hear from most Catholics that I think you should, and I'll spend more time on is, or at least more emphasis, is you need to be manly, cool. You need to be an act worth following. That means you need a lot of stuff going on. That's why it's good to have played sports. Young men need sports for this reason. They're a model for warfare. Like Joel Webbin said, if you want a wife who's like a pretty enthusiastic, supportive cheerleader, which all men want, which is ontologically appropriate, right? This is why we don't like female sports here. They're not the main characters. The men are. They're the cheerleaders. They're the second in command. You need to give them something to cheer. So you need to be fit. You need to be athletic. You need to be exciting. You don't hear this from the sort of Catholic longhouse or the Christian longhouse too often. They just say you need to have control. You need to not be addicted to blah, blah, blah. Smut material online. You need to not fornicate. You need to be prepared not to cheat on your wife. Well, of course, all that. No porneia, as the Bible says, that word porneia. But more important, first, that paves the way for the capacity to do all that. You need to be cool. You need to be manly. You need to have some skills, like a bow staff. As Napoleon Dynamite says, girls want a dude with skills.
I had a bow staff over this weekend.
Yeah. Girls are not like, tempted by a man who, guys like, I don't know how else to say it, TNA, right? That's the most tempting thing for a guy. Girls want a dude, the closest thing to TNA for them is like a guy with a lot of great skills. And that's really true. And obviously you got to be fit too, a fit guy with great skills. So be prepared to be a commodity. And the way you prepare is by getting those skills themselves. So basically read books 1 through 6 of the Nicomachean Ethics, and hopefully you've mastered or gotten on the path to mastering many of those individual virtues. And then just understand you got to be really interesting. Got to be a Chad.
Okay, next one. My buddy says his wife cites postpartum recovery to deny him sex. I get it's real shortly after birth, but when does the excuse stop being fair?
So the hospital says for regular birth, 6 weeks. That's very I mean, that is rather extensive. If you have a situation with a dude with most dudes who are chads, who their wives want to have sex with, the wives are not going to be taking that full measure of time. Now, all bodies are different. All situations are different. I'm not in a position to judge. I'm not like the master. I just know 6 weeks is very, very conservative. When they give you recov times coming out of the hospital, they always give you the conservative time. So 4 weeks, 2 weeks is what a lot of women want. And then a lot of women are the ones that are like, forget it. You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know a lot of women. I only know one woman, but Steph always has C-sections and they say 6 to 8 weeks. And I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying we usually bend those rules for.
Yeah.
You don't need the full measure. She's not going to hemorrhage internally. You know, if you have someone that's a woman that's holding you, midnight, the 6 weeks, you might likely have a problem. If she's just a hypochondriac and takes doctors too literally, which a lot of women run into that problem, they think 6 weeks means like the stroke of midnight on the 42nd day is when it becomes okay, and your face will explode if you do it 4 days before. No, that's one thing. That's just being literalist, you know. Don't ever say I'm so hungry I could eat a horse in front of that woman. She'll misunderstand, but you might not have marital problems. But if she understands the thrust, no pun intended, of the admonition, that it's an approximation and she still wants to hold to it, she might just, you know, not be into that, and that is a marital problem. We do couples coaching for those situations, but you know, I mean, if a woman's up and about and able to walk or able to return to jogging, all these things that healthy young women want to do. If you're healthy enough to jog, you're healthy enough for coitus. That's what
I'll say too.
That's not medical advice, but
I'll say too. Like, I would usually in times of pregnancy and postpartum, you'll usually get, when there's already pre-existing issues in the marriage, particularly when it comes to like sex and all these things and intimacy, those things usually get like smoked out during the pregnancy and postpartum. So usually when women start taking license about like, oh, well, the doctor said this and I just don't feel like it, that couple has bigger issues. So it really is, there just needs to be a conversation, because if women should not be taking license even in pregnancy or postpartum once, you know, the appropriate amount of time has passed. And then like Tim said, that could be individual, but for the most part.
You mean female sexual immaturity? Female sexual
immaturity, yeah.
Weird problem. There are two main strains of female sexual immaturity in the world today. There's a much more common one, and then a less common one you see in the serious or trad Catholic world. Strain A is acted slutty during college, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, that's like a plague. It's an epidemic across college campuses. Young women from decent households acting slutty, giving it away against the Christian ethic, and then get married to some schlub that she finds boring and makes him beg for sex and acts, you know, returns to being a prim princess. Well, she's not a prim princess anymore after she's given it away. That's, I'm sad to say, what seems to be the main form of sexual immaturity in the world today. But the end result's the same, a woman denying her husband sex. Strain B is more particular to Christian sort of Ned Flanders dorks. Maybe these women never had the slutty college period. So that's good. But then these women just stay like the prim virginal princess after marriage. Well, virgins wear white and don't get married. If you get married, right, this is a big part of life, and it's supposed to be. And so women just stay like, it's like failure to launch. We make fun as a society of a guy that never moves out of his mom's basement, but Catholics, particularly trad Catholics, don't make too much fun of a woman who gets married and wants to be a matriarch, but isn't having regular, high-quality relations with her husband.
I make fun of them.
Yeah, you do. But that's the point. It seems you have strain A or strain B potentially in the mix there. Hopefully not. Maybe it's just a woman being over-literal about her interpretation as to the hospital instructions upon release. I hope not. We do marriage coaching. Email me if you're interested in those.
Did you see Andrew Wilson on Joe Rogan? Would you ever go on Joe's show?
Yeah, I saw Andrew and Joe Rogan. I listened to it on the way back. That was another thing. We stopped by the Wilsons' house on the way out.
Oh yeah, we never got a picture.
We never got a picture. Well, because it's kind of corny.
I know, but
they're
like
real. They're real friends. And sometimes when you're like, "Can we snap the photo?" We were actually making fun of that when we were there. I did leave my shotgun at Andrew's house. He was a former gunsmith. He'd never said that publicly before this Joe Rogan appearance. I never knew until he told me. We stopped by on the way out. So he told me that only shortly before I saw him say it on Joe Rogan. He has so many guns, knows a lot about guns, and I ended up leaving the shotgun there for fear of some weird weaponization, again, no pun intended, of the police with your whole grandma's side of the family debacle. We were going to pick it up on the way out, but he was still there in Austin because I think he did Alex Jones on the way out.
We were supposed to be there only for like an hour. We ended up staying for like 4 hours. It was a great time. We love the Wilsons.
A great
family.
Great family, great new house. It was a great time. Yes, I would do Joe Rogan's show. I would not turn Joe down and leave him kicking the dust with an aw shucks expression on his face. So yes, I would. And Andrew tends to be one of those great friends that works behind the scenes. Once I was like, "Hey, I'm going on Gerald Apologizes." He's like, "I know, I set that up." Andrew's a great friend who works in the background behind the scenes to always help you. Half the time I'm giving him news. He's like, "I know, I helped set that up." So if he does that for Joe Rogan, just saying Andrew and Rachel, then I'll be cool. Same thing with Piers. He's always telling Piers, "Hey, you need to get a smart Catholic on here. You need to get Tim." So whatever. Yeah. Yes, I would. That's the answer to that one. Next.
American Squidward James says, "Great show. Toughest debate you've ever done, and why?"
I would say the Filioque section of the debate with Jay last summer, because he does it like it's blood sports, as you see. We're friends now, and he was even getting mad and calling me names and shit. And they're just really good on Filioque, not on Pure Act, not on, what was the third part? Not on the Pope.
Papacy.
No, that was easy. Even though Jay's a great debater, I did not find that challenging. I don't find. I'm being honest, right? So if Jay sees this later and is like, "Oh, like I'm not puffing," I mean, like, it's nerve-wracking to go against Jay on Filioque because he knows so much about it. I mean, put polemics to the side, right? And just, he knows more about the Filioque than I do because he's read 100 books on it. And I'm not a trained theologian. Everything I've learned, I take the fast track to study. I'm a fast study, and I've studied the Filioque for the last few years. But Jay's been at this a long time. And it's also in addition to him being sharp and him studying a lot, it's also probably the most evenly matched, in my view, I'm not puffing, that the Orthodox are to us. I don't think it's that important an issue. I don't think they're flat out wrong on it. Unlike all our other theological disputes, EORC, the EORC disputes, this is the one that's like, it's almost, you could sort of see it from their perspective, and it's not such a big deal. And they're almost close to approaching being right. So that, plus Jay's strong rhetorical approach, plus Jay's strong basis of knowledge, that was hard. And I didn't perform my best in the Filioque section. Now, no one knew what the hell we were talking about on Pure Act.
Yeah,
but I had the major upper hand there because it's philosophy, and Jay's not studying philosophy. So a lot of people just didn't know how to translate what was happening. And so people were like, "Oh, that seemed like a toss-up." And then the papal section, I think most people thought I won. But so a lot of people were saying, well, Jay won Filioque, Tim won the Pope section, and we didn't know what was being said during Pure Act. I really did. That was my strongest segment. You couldn't tell because it's so metaphysically abstruse. But anyway, yeah, the Filioque subsection of that debate was the hardest I've ever done. I mean, I've done lots and lots of these things. Andrew and I have doubled against Paul Elam and Aaron Cleary. I've done doubles with Chris Plants against a couple of atheists. I've done lots of Protestant debates. I did one most recently on Trent Horn's channel, not against the other Paul. It was against some other guy, I forget his name. That was easy. Trent Horn himself, I did the double debate. That was not particularly hard. What are my other recent debates? Yeah, well, I also sort of did the Jay and Lore Lodge guy at the
on
beginning
Tim
of the
Pool.
summer, on Tim Pool, and
That's right.
that was not. I mean, it gets more intense when it's 1 versus 1. The points that they were teaming up on me, you know, the Protestant and the EO, they were weak points. They were typically anti-papal points, which are really weak. Where Catholics are really strong on that. We're weakest on the filioque, like objectively. That's what I'm trying to say. The papacy is so strong. It's so strong. Not only do you have the 3 Bible verses, but EOs accepted the pontificate for 1,000 years, and now they just kind of don't the last 1,000 years, and they can't answer that. And even Vatican I really strongly, now that you understand it properly, now that you have the proper Catholic apologists out there, like Elijah Yazzie has really popularized this. Papal minimalism is really strongly affirmed by Vatican I. So they didn't come at me very hard on that. And then most of the rest of the time, aside from, we would do this thing where when you have threesome, this is why threesomes are bad. Get your mind out of the gutter. The 2 will team up on the 1, you know, A and B against C, and then B and C against A. And then I don't know if there's ever a time when what's his face, Lore Lodge and I teamed up against J. EOs have the most diplomatic immunity because they're the smallest. But most of the rest of the time was just me and Jay making fun of this dipshit who's like a Freemason and thinks he can be a Christian, or just, even if he wasn't a Freemason, he just has all the retarded Protestant talking points. It's a 500-year-old religion, and they don't even have any claim to why they don't have the 7 sacraments or bishops or priests that stood in the shoes of the original apostles. So they only tended to team up against me on the pontificate, and we're really strong there. It's filioque with a great rhetorician. That's more intimidating. That's what I'll say on that one. That's the way that answer shakes out. Jay's a good debater. There were times when this was about 2 years ago, when there was supposed to be a big battle royale debate, like 3-on-3 or 4-on-4. It's going to be Chase or Sovereign Bra, that's his name online, myself, maybe Michael Knowles against Red Pill guys, Myron Gaines, maybe one of the Tates, maybe whoever the other guy from Fresh and Fit was, maybe Rollo Tomasi or something. And they wanted Andrew Wilson on their side. And I was like, well, he's more a patriarchy guy than a Red Pill guy. You know, they were still calling the patriarchy side the TradCon side. I was like, well, that's a third side. He'll get Lila Rose and Abby Johnson and I guess Trent Horn and Ascension Presents. Well, we're a different kind of Christian. We're the real Christian viewpoint, which is patriarchy. And Andrew was like, yeah, I don't want to debate against him. And if I'm going to be in this, I'll be on their side. At the least I could be is a moderator. But that battle royale never happened. Oh, also, remember, I went on Tim Pool the first time on Culture War to debate Rollo Tomasi. That was probably the easiest debate I've ever had because Rollo just kept saying, hey, man, I agree with you. He just laid down his arms. So the summer or spring before the last Tim Pool debate appearance on Culture Wars, technically that was supposed to be a debate show. Tim was sort of doing an informal debate between me and Rollo. And Rollo was, I mean, yeah, look, we're going to sound like we agree when we talk about why modern college women are terrible. But I'm like, but let's assume arguendo we agree about the problem. It's mostly women. And now let's talk about where we sharply disagree. The solution. You guys say it's being a man whore, it's not getting married, it's sex outside of marriage, it's contraception. If you're going to sire children, sire bastards. I say the exact opposite, right? I say Christian patriarchy, the Christian household, man's in charge. There are still good women. They're just harder to find than they ever were before. Be a Chad, kind of like you guys say, except be a Chad in a way where you're self-controlled, self-restrained, and you could still get a good woman. And he just didn't want to debate that. So that was he kept laying down his arms, so that was easy to do. So Steffi had to run out of the room. I think we had an issue with the 3-year-old. I've done a lot of debates. I'm forgetting a lot. I've done more debates than I can remember. Okay, but I was just sort of stalling till you got back.
Sorry.
I can't.
We have our propane tank is being refilled, and I've walked up the stairs like 20 times. So
that is not a metaphor. We are literally having our propane tank.
Okay. Next one. I haven't heard Candace promote your movie at all. She promoted her new mug for Valentine's Day, but nothing about your movie. Not since the first time she mentioned it. Isn't it contracted to promote it?
Okay. Well, I don't know how you know the contract, but yes. And I didn't mention this in the main show. So everyone drop your shit, listen up. So What a Woman Is we contracted 2 free days, similar to what Daily Wire did. I feel like my hair's doing something weird. Similar to what Daily Wire did with What Is a Woman. I like that model where they had it up on a pay-for model. Then they paused that, had a couple free days. I've heard as many as 90 million people viewed it. I have friends who are in the brass at Benke, and that they've confirmed that. So tons of views. That's when it became big. And then afterwards, you could go pay for it again after the 2 free days are up. I suggested this to George and Candace. They liked it. So those 2 free days will be February the 4th and February the 5th. I think it's not perfectly clear, but I think that means not only will it be free on their website for those 2 days, and yes, it has been largely unheralded. That's been true so far. She's mentioned it. Thanks for the mention. But I think she's going to mention it again. So watch her show on Monday and Tuesday and shout at me, because I don't watch all the content out there, when she mentions it. Shout at me at Twitter. Send me an email. When you hear Candace mention it, George says she's going to mention it on Monday will be February 2. Tuesday will be February the 3rd, right? Is that right? Do I have my dates right? So then Wednesday and Thursday, it'll be free. Wednesday and Thursday of next week, it'll be free. And I believe they're gonna fly it for free on the Candace Owens X what do you call that? The X account.
Are you talking about Twitter?
Well, yeah, the Candace Owens Twitter/X account.
We're such boomers with some of this stuff.
Well, no, you just never know what to call it. But I meant account.
Okay, yeah, the X account.
Well, I use Twitter a lot, but not from Candace Owens' personal account. I was just forgetting the term for personal versus show account. Her personal account would be great because she's got like 6 gorillion followers on Twitter. Candace Owens' show Twitter account, X account, has more than I have. I have like 56,000 followers on Twitter. She has more than that, but I think it's like 3 or 4 times that. It will be free, like Daily Wire made it free on Twitter, on, I think, her show account. If that's, I kind of always have to run this stuff by George, but I think that's what they were saying.
Monday is the 2nd, by the way.
Monday is the 2nd. If you're a Candace Owens fan, just do what you always do, watch the show. Monday and Tuesday, hopefully you'll hear a mention both days. And hopefully, I think I'm not speaking out of order. I think they're going to fly it not only for free on the website, but also fly it for free on the Candace Owens Candace Owens Show Twitter account. February 4th and February 5th, that's when you have the free day. So if you don't have $1.99 to pay to go watch What a Woman Is, and you've been holding out, you will be able to watch it for free next Wednesday and Thursday. Kind of a pre-Valentine's treat.
Catholic David said, is there a scholastic exposition on the 4th commandment's relation to one's ethnicity? Seems implicit in the Roman Catechism, but have a hunch our authors have much more to say about it, about honoring our ancestors.
No, because honoring means behavior, specific behaviors concomitant with a set of duties. So like the best way I can answer this is to say, well, what is the way you honor your parents in conformity to the 4th Amendment as a child? You obey. What is the way that a woman, the 4th commandment really also applies to wives with their husbands. What is the best way a wife can show love to her husband? Obey. What is the best way a child can show love to his parent? Obey. How about a grown-up offspring in regard to his grown-up wellspring, mother or father? It's to care for them. So it's a full circle of life. Your parent cared for you, then you obey them, then it comes around and you care for them. And Aquinas does say this in a couple places in the Summa. I don't have them handy. But now ethnicity, look, it's one of those issues. It's tough if you're looking for a lot of Catholic support for a racial realism view or something. It's difficult for a couple reasons. One, because no one back then was saying absurd things like it's wrong to be white. So that's a similar reason why it's hard to find tons of stuff. You can find more stuff on that qualifies as anti-feminism from back then, but there were just no feminists back then. There was sort of, the earliest beginnings of this was, you'll see Pius 9, 10, 11, 12 writing on it because there was feminism then. But in Thomas's day, there simply wasn't feminism. Luckily, he said enough that qualifies as proto-anti-feminism. But there's less material on like racial realism. But secondly, I will say it's difficult to find or impossible to find because it might be concomitant with the Catholic view, but it's not actually the Catholic view, right? I mean, I think Paul VI says it, or maybe it's Pius XII. Like, there's a reality to your ethnicity, but it's far less determinative of identity than your sex. So there's many more behaviors that run with, are you male or female? Than there are with like, there's a duty specific to being a white. That's not as much of a thing. I'm not saying it's not a thing at all. I'm not anti-racial realism. I'm just saying it's more like a common sense dictate than it is something you're going to find exampled in the magisterium. The magisterium is not strictly against it. It's just, it's not as big of an issue. You're going to have to make common sense sort of a priori arguments if you're a racial realist.
My fiance has a loan of $40,000 from her time at university. I'm a blue collar worker and I want her to stay at home after marriage. Or should she work until she hopefully gets pregnant? Thank you for, thank you. And then FYU, W, sorry, I don't know. For your work, sorry.
You gotta, thanks. You gotta pay that shit off yourself. Yeah, no, you don't farm her out or pimp her out to pay off her thing. A lot of women got conned into college debt by their fathers. That if she's a good woman, she's worth it, right? If she's a good woman, she's worth 100 times that. And I'm not trying to like white knight. It would be hard to pay. It would be impossible to pay 100 times that. But if she's a truly 1 in a million, your soulmate or whatever, then no, keep her at home, pay that off. Yeah, that's the way it is. I wouldn't break up over it if you think you found the one for you. You said fiance?
Yeah. And I would say too, remember that the vocation the vocation that your fiance, soon to be wife, will be entering is first and foremost a wife.
Right.
People always confuse this and they think that a woman shouldn't work for children. No, she shouldn't work primarily for her husband because she needs to be available to her husband for the things that the husband will need her for. And there are lots of those things. After being married 20 years, I can tell you, it's like, yeah, of course I have to, be around for my kids. But first and foremost, I'm here making an environment for my husband. I'm here to have a good disposition and a happy disposition and make meals and those things for my husband. So,
cheerleader, look pretty, make meals, bake cookies,
be
smile,
in a good mood.
Be in a good mood. That's even Saint Jose Maria Escriva says this really explicitly. So yeah, you just, you're young. 40,000 sounds like a lot. Then that ain't that much.
No.
I mean, there's people. If it's a great woman and she got conned into, say, an Ivy League degree or something, and she's 140 in debt, if she's a truly great woman, it's still worth it. But you don't pimp her out to make up for her own mistake. You cover her error. It's not going to be the first time it happened. And this is not white knighting. This is not like, hey, if you're a real man, you'll do it. If you don't want to pay that, if you're going to break up with a great woman you're in love with over 40,000, that's fine. This is the time to do it. If you're saying she's great and you already decided you're in love with her and she's the love of your life and you're going to marry her, then just pay it off. Mm-hmm. Don't send her out to the workforce.
Is it true that the requirement for, quote, detachment from sin is removed when it comes to a plenary indulgence on Divine Mercy Sunday? Don't know about y'all. Purgatory terrifies me.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I don't. I don't know I don't.
Is it true that the requirement for detachment from sin is removed
Oh God.
when it comes to good indulgence?
Well, yeah, you can't be like fixated on. You can't be fixated. You'll have a culpable mens rea if you're like currently fixated on a sin as you do a plenary indulgence. So I mean, like, I mean that, but usually going to confession covers you there, right? So if you make a valid confession, even if there's some sin that you're intermittently addicted to or semi-addicted to, and as long as you've confessed whatever you need to confess and you haven't committed that sin before you do your indulgence, you're okay. The attachment to the sin means, do you have any of those sins on your soul? That it doesn't mean we're all sort of attached to sin after the fall. So in a way, yes, and in a way, no. You know, you could consult someone who's a little more specific about that. But I would say, as long as you're not in a state of sin, then the attachment is only abstract. So I think the vague term that's querying the analysis here is what constitutes an attachment. Does it mean a sin you tend to struggle with, you might do again in a month? That doesn't invalidate the plenary indulgence.
I have a fun one for you on Twitter. It says, sorry, I don't know if you can see that. It is cold up here. It says, get well soon. My question. Thanks. On the SNES version of Street Fighter 2, what fighter did you use to defeat all of your pupils at one time? Ken. Always Ken.
So the main person I grew up playing video games with, I played a lot with my older brother, but more with my younger brother. On Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Always Ken. And Dave, who many of you know of, was always Ryu. So we always had the same moves, same body type or whatever, but I was always the American golden boy. He is always just some Jap.
And you never let him live that down.
And I know. No, and then in Mario Kart, starting with original Mario Kart and all the following versions, I guess there's 8 versions now, I was always Koopa Troopa. And Dave was always Toad. Also, when Greg would play, he would always be Toad. So
I would always be Toad. I'm always Toad,
you're
too.
You're always Toad, too. So I'm always playing against a counterpart who has the same body style. It's a little turtle versus a little Toad. And they have the same car, too. Because if you remember the original Mario Kart, you had 4 car types, 8 characters. So it was Koopa Troopa and Toad had the same car. That had the same relative handling, acceleration, top speed. You had Yoshi paired with the stupid idiot girl, Princess. That's very, very humiliating for Yoshi, I could imagine.
Oh,
yeah, the
mortifying.
2 fat guys, Bowser and Donkey Kong. We always yelled the worst things imaginable at them because they would knock you out of the road. Remember on that original
so
SNES.
Frustrating. Appeal, absolutely devastating.
Peel from Donkey Kong or one of those fireballs that kind of moved from Bowser. And the main thing they did that make me mad was just they threw their fat asses around the course and they would really slam you into a lake.
Doing that. Yeah,
sons of bitches. And then you had Luigi and Mario who had the sort of second high speed, third greatest accelerating, and third fastest, second highest top speed, third fastest acceleration, and third best handling. So there was only 4 car types. Anyway, I was Koopa Troopa and I was Ken, the blonde stud muffin on
you're a brunette stud muffin in real life. And he followed up by saying
Ryu was handsome for a Japanese man. I mean, they gave him very, very white features.
The Japs have really good hair.
They do.
Yeah.
But they gave him like a white guy jawline. He's just sort of Jap colored.
That's true. And he followed up by the way, they're saying, "LOL, Ken is awesome, dude." Yeah. So
are you? Who are you?
Tell us. Outrun.
Now you know my biometrics, and I don't know yours. I feel like I'm at a disadvantage.
Well, now you can play online.
Are you like a Blanca guy or something? Probably not.
No, if he thinks Ken's awesome, then he's
Honda. Those gimmick moves like the 1,000 hand slap. Just like come on, dude.
Let's grow up.
Let's grow up.
Let's grow up a little bit.
Live in the real world. You don't have 1,000 hands.
You need a fireball, and that's about it.
Edmund Honda. Yeah. Did you know, Street Fighter 2 fact, you might not have known this. You know why M. Bison is called M. Bison?
I did not know this.
So Originally, M. Bison's name in the game, because remember Street Fighter 1, Sagat is the final bad guy. He's second bad. When they added a bigger boss, which is like a Mind Flayer Vecna situation, in Street Fighter 2, the bigger boss was originally called, well, this guy you're looking at right now, Balrog.
Balrog? No way.
From Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
Well, the boxer's name is Balrog. Do you know why they had to flip it? They ended up calling him M. Bison. Well, Balrog, the boxer, the black boxer's name was originally M. Bison, and his name was Mike Bison. They ran into some sort of intellectual property issue, so they flopped the two guys' names, and it worked because M. Bison just looking like a really, really, really strong Joseph Stalin, which is basically what he looked like. He was like a dictator, like a based Stalin. Now he's M. Bison. He doesn't look like Tyson, whereas Balrog does. So anyway, you learn something every day. The more you know, the more you are.
And there's Ken.
And Ken's just, it's like looking into a
American
mirror.
Hero right there. That guy, an
mirror.
Aryan American hero.
Did you hear what I said?
What did you say? Sorry.
It's like looking into a mirror.
It is. It is exactly like that.
He's just not as strong as I am.
Not even close. And not as fast either.
No.
What's your take on Erica Kirk and Trad Kath Spears' silence?
She's a catastrophe. She's a complete catastrophe. I don't know if Candace is right about all of the implications or not, but it's a dumpster fire with Erica Kirk, and it looks really, really bad. That girl was not mourning. Someone asked me on Twitter the other day, I was saying anti-Erica Kirk stuff, and they said, well, how many spouses have you lost? And I said, well, precisely as many as Erica Kirk has mourned. 0. So that's really bad. That's really weird. There's some really odd facts there that cry out. We'll see how it plays out. I don't know, but she's a dumpster fire. Catholic trad, Twitter, whatever, trad online space just is so longhouse. They will never critique a woman. You probably know that by now, but Catholics are just cucks, generally speaking. They will never critique a woman. On this channel, we love critiquing women. It's like our favorite thing to do. So we're always happy to.
And I from my perspective, for like woman to woman, like I thought it was weird from the very beginning, like this new thing of her, like, let me see if I can put it on the screen, of her laughing. Some people were like, well, people laugh, like, some
people
after
grieve differently.
It's like, no, sorry, no, I absolutely deny that. Like, I'm not saying I've grieved this past weekend, like intently, and yes, of course I laughed, but I'm not like, you could tell the difference between. Let me put it up here. You could tell the difference between a laugh where you're like pulling it together to laugh, where you're just like, like, look at that. That's not like, oh, I'm laughing despite my grief. That's like my grief is on the back burner. I'm laughing first. And when I've seen people who have lost spouses laugh, it's kind of like a sympathetic chuckle. It's not like a chortle, like your face is lit up like normal, like you're.
She is not distraught.
It's just
that's what you're saying.
I'm sorry, she's not distraught. I don't trust her. I don't think
even the way she looks like she just got up on a Saturday morning and then she's like, oh, good, that's a good one. Yeah, this just. This is not exhibit A. This is like exhibit X or Y. There have been like 25 other examples of her just coming out to fireworks in a glitter dress. She hasn't worn black once that I've seen.
Only a few times, but also it just perverts like her role as CEO. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to say this, but it perverts her entire role as a sufferer or as a grieving widow. The fact that she's out there because of her CEO role, talking about merch sales and like how many voters and all these things, it's perverse.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. It's disrespectful. And this is another reason why she shouldn't be CEO, because those words should not be coming out of a widow's mouth. If my husband died, the last thing in the entire world I want to be doing is giving a financial report on how well his memorial went. Yeah. And the fact that she's doing that, and the fact that she's being encouraged to do that by people is disgusting. And again, the decay of society. Like there really should be mourning rules. Like there used to be. Like you should be in black for a year. No one should see you. You should just be hanging out in your house with your kids. Like there used to be.
What a woman should be doing anyway.
We used to be a proper country. Like there were rules for mourning. It wasn't just like, hey, to each his own. Like, hey, whatever happens in their bedroom is their thing. Like you can mourn however you want to. It's like all this to like degradation of society. It's just like everybody just thinks that they can do whatever the hell they want to all the time, and there are no proper behaviors for anything anymore. And I'm just like,
this
no,
country,
this
such
country.
a shithole. Here's the problem. It's the best, right? It's like the best of all. We've lived in Europe. Steph's lived in Germany and Italy. All she has to do is live in Japan for a short while, and she'll have lived in all the Axis powers. Like, we've lived in other good, solid European countries, still second or third best. You know, we have good friends. So our best friends are from England. This country is now a shithole, and it is still the best country on earth. That's not something to brag about or be triumphalistic about. It's sad. I'll say this. It's been a rough go. And if you guys, people are always looking to tithe or whatever, donor box on timothyjgordon.com. I will say this. We have had to contact our attorney. We have 2 or 3 attorneys. We've had to contact our 2 or 3 attorneys too many times over the last years. What's happened in the last month, completely unexpected. So if you guys want to support the show, do so through locals. If you want to support the fam, we get a lot of those requests privately. It's on donor box. Go to timothyjgordon.com and click donate. You could give to P.O. Box, or you can use donor box.
Next question. Simple layperson, not an intellectual by any stretch of the imagination, struggling to stay in the church due to crisis. Was there ever a time you considered orthodoxy?
Never. I'm a head first guy, and it took me a long time to, being a cradle Catholic, I just didn't take it seriously. All these goofy adults, all these goofy women running parish life, saying things like God is love or whatever they said in the 80s and 90s. I was such a atheist leaning agnostic until I started studying Aristotle, then Aquinas. And it took me even 5 years of study till I was really 28 or 29. Really, I've only considered myself Catholic for about 14, 15 years. So really late 20s, 29. But I hadn't been an atheist for a long time. I was like, I think intellectually I'm Catholic in that middle period, but I'm slow. I'm slow to act on my will. I always just go with my intellect. And I'm like, I guess I'm Catholic for the latter years of my 20s, but I wasn't really in it. I was like, I guess that means the Eucharist is really real, and the Trinity, the consubstantiality thing doesn't pose any problems, and hypostatic union doesn't pose any actual problems. And because I'd worked them through with Aquinas in principle non-contradiction. But once I came all in, and my will was all in by the time I was 29 or 30, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's no way anything but Roman Catholicism is true. And that this, I mean, there's just, I've never had a moment of doubt since I've come back. And then I've even had one or two of these moments of Holy Spirit speaking to me, like through young Abby, when she started chanting Holy Spirit later in the day after Michael O'Brien told me to pray to the Holy Spirit for the first time in my life, and I never had. So I prayed to the third person of the Trinity later that day on Holy Thursday of 2012. It's just confirmed what I already knew by then. My daughter, who couldn't really speak, started chanting in a whisper at the consecration at Mass, Holy Spirit. It was incredible. You know, Abby, young 3-year-old Abby, who really did not have much speech aside from saying her own name and a few other words. So there's just no way. And Fatima and all the Marian apparitions and just the single concomitance between Bible and history that only one Christian sect has. I've just never considered anything. What a crisis in the church. Why would that drive you away? I sincerely don't understand.
I don't get it either.
The priests and the bishops are largely homos, or were in the 90s and early noughts, and even in the 20 teens. Who cares? Like, that's their problem. Let it be their eternal headache. It's gross. It makes me mad. If I have to attend a Noah's Ordo, half the time I end up sort of cussing the priest in my head, and then I'm, not in a good. That's why I don't generally receive the Eucharist at the Novus Ordo. But I mean, so okay, that might make me potentially sin. Probably not even a sin, because I'm hating what should be hated. Not the man, but his sin. But why would that make you want to leave? I sincerely don't understand. I was convinced. I'll never be unconvinced. There's just so much never-ending, overwhelming evidence. The Roman Catholic Church is the one true thing. Not just the one true religion, the one true thing on earth. Don't leave. I've never, and I always give props to EO, but I've never considered it as an option. It's so
funny
clear.
when people are like, Tim will become Orthodox. It's like, oh boy, ye of little faith. It's like we respect and love our Orthodox friends.
Tons of homies. They're great on the patriarchy issue,
no.
but they're not. We love them on the patriarchy issue, but they're inconsistent on the patriarchy issue. You can't deny your papa, even though you accepted him for 1,000 years. You can't deny papa for the last 1,000 years and still say you're straight with patriarchy. You're not. We are a patriarchal faith.
Are y'all on LP or natural gas? LP.
Yeah.
LP all the way. And by the way, that was finished, by the way. Sorry, everybody. The show kind of took a back seat to our propane tank being filled.
Good.
It's done. Timothy, does marriage have one telos or two?
Well, there's the difference between a telos and an ergon. So I would say something can only have one natural telos, that is end, but its ergons, its meanings, that's the difference between a formal and a final cause. So I would say you can resolve that problem, the problem that a lot of people out there think is a big problem that I say is a false dichotomy. They say, well, is it procreation or is it like unitive love between the spouses? I'm like, well, procreation is the end of the unitive love between the spouses, but there can be non-competitive final causes also. So you could either say, well, one's the meaning, love is the formal cause, and procreation is the final cause of the love. That is philosophically coherent. That's a good explanation. Or there's another good explanation. You could say, what is the telos of your lips? Is it speaking? Or is it eating? Well, it's actually both. I don't know which one would be considered more, speaking and eating. See? And, but what about whistling? Are you mortal sinning when you whistle? That is a secondary telos and ergon of the lips. This is really my wheelhouse here, because we're doing ethics, metaphysical ethics, and whistling is not a mortal sin, even though it's a secondary cause, as long as it is not occlusive of the primary telos. So it's not like some made up Christopher West fruitcake thing. As long as you understand there's one primary telos, there's one primary ergon, but there can be secondary teloi. There can't be secondary ergons, right?
Thank you, Tim Borden. Do your kids interact much with other kids? Mainly curious about your son, since he has no brothers.
That's an issue. That's the thing. They have a little neighbor friend, but she's a girl. They all have each other. They're all girls. Me and the boy, mainly, when I come up here to do shows, he's like waiting. Is he right there? Oh no, that's
he's like lurking around the corners.
He's lurking to either go hunting or go play basketball or go. They want me to play hide and seek. So, yeah, I'm like the main dude that plays with this little dude, and I want to get him a little friend as he gets older. But that has been an issue. I just last year, January into February, we went. December into January, we went hunting every afternoon together, and we do stuff like that. So he likes to come with me as a buddy, not just a father.
Maggie Johnson says, what made you choose Mississippi? Did you consider Florida? I appreciate your words and witness.
We're not trend mongers. Mississippi is just much, 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 much more beautiful than Florida, and it's cheaper. So you'd say if something's, I think, the most beautiful place in the American South, because we love forest, classic standard sort of Little Red Riding Hood forest. And it's like the cheapest or second cheapest state in the union. And it's the most conservative and most Christian state in the union. We're like, let's check it out. So we checked out southern Mississippi. We passed through it a number of times in 2017, then 2019 to drive to Florida. Florida's fun for Disney World. I would never want to live there. I don't know why it was getting trendy. We met in Dallas. I went to college in Dallas. I don't like that. I like all the shopping. I don't like the town. I like the natural beauty of South Mississippi. If we'd have gone anywhere else, if it wasn't South Mississippi, it would have been South Alabama. That was our next place to check in 2020 when I got fired. And if we were going to have to move to a third contender, we would have skipped Georgia, and Florida would have gone to South Carolina.
And we really like the people here. I mean, even our neighbor, Austin,
Amazing.
By the way, for this trip, like, we had to keep postponing because of the weather and then like the crazy stuff with the funeral. And we have a dog who is mentally retarded and needs care like 3 times a day. And our neighbor, I mean, people here, they're like he was just coming over, bringing our dog blankets because of the cold front and everything. I mean, this is like,
people here are amazing.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Austin's a great neighbor. We have tons of great neighbors. Everyone's like, the most left they get is like a MAGA Trump guy. And you're like, that's kind of normie, dude. Trump's kind of Israel shown. They're like, wait, what? But those are Mississippi leftists.
Right.
Or just MAGA Trump people. It's an amazing place. The people are amazing. The one thing we need that we lack here that was great when we visited our 2 home cities, Dallas and then Bakersfield, California, we're like, man, the shopping's so much better. So many more options for restaurants and shopping. More activities. But man, it's beautiful here and the people are great. And the most important things.
Next question. Just started reading Brothers Karamazov. I heard you reference it multiple times, but I can't remember the context. Can you talk about the book for a minute? No spoilers.
Most influential novel on my whole life. I mean, I'd say book, but you always get weird about, well, the Bible should be. And also think probably the Nicomachean Ethics, maybe more. But most influential work of fiction on my life. I love it. I reread it from time to time. I love Alyosha. We had a cat named Alyosha. I really like Ivan. I relate to Ivan. Young me related to Ivan a lot. And I probably just make references, analogies, allusions.
We have pictures of it in our house, like, just even the covers.
Of my nightstand, I have a picture of the 4 brothers. I love Brothers Karamazov.
Can you debunk the Catholic nerds who hate sports?
Yeah.
These are the guys that call sport, like anything sports ball.
They call
so
sports
gay.
Sports ball.
Don't do that in front of girls. Even if you think you want to call it sports ball, just I beg you guys who are looking for girlfriends, don't ever refer to sports as sports ball in front of a woman.
Don't let a girl you're courting know you hate sports. If so, hide it. I mean, don't lie about it. I'm a truth absolutist, but you don't have to say it, because it's just owning that you're a nerd, you have a bad body, you're weak, you wouldn't know how to team up in a war situation, you can't fight, you can't protect, all those things. If you ask a sports ball person, well, so you don't like solo sports, they kind of get pressured into saying, well, I like fighting, I like weightlifting. So they don't go that far. They don't really. The more natural sports to learn first are team sports. Team sports are, and I love heavyweight boxing, but my whole life I loved team sports. And that's really where a dude learns to, not in a conformist way, but in a functional way, to be a part of an army. And Joel Webben really breaks this down well. They're all team sports are a metaphor for war. And that's why you get psyched up, even if it's like basketball. Okay, not every game is going to be Malice at the Palace brawl. Only if you have to play the Pistons, right? Or a non-professional version of Pistons, a black gym in South Dallas or something. That's the last time I've been in a basketball brawl. But even just, it's our team versus their team. We really hate the other guys. I mean, not really, but we really dislike them. We're going to go at it. You learn how to be a teammate. You learn how to be tough. You learn how to support your guys in a non-conformist way, but a teamwork way. It's just how men learn to be men, interacting with other men.
And it's ick. Can I just say it? It's icky. Like if you're a guy, a young man, and you're like wanting to date, like date and court a woman, you're into girls, like it just.
And you don't know sports.
And to say sports ball, it's gross. Like it's like a girl telling a guy, I don't like wearing dresses. It's gross. Like it's like just get in there and you wear a dress.
A girl telling a guy, let's say you're about to meet, you've never met, so he hasn't seen you in person, and you're doing a phone call before you meet, and she's like, I hate thin girls. You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a dude saying the equivalent of a girl saying, I hate thin girls. Like, no, thin girls are cool. Now, another motto, a competing motto for this channel besides whatever we decided to go with, is that I use more often is don't be a normie, but don't be a weirdo. On the other hand, right? So you want to be a non-normie, not an NPC, not some ex-frat guy that golfs every weekend and listens to Barstool Sports and is obsessed with the religion of football and sports. Well, that's pathetic. But a dude that is like, okay, listening to intellectual, Catholic, ideological content is more important than sports. But someone that was good at sports, that's really good. That's what the girls want. Someone that still understands sports and can explain it to your wife, that's really good. Someone that pays some attention to at least one sport, one team sport. That's always a good thing.
It's attractive.
But you shouldn't be obsessed. Yeah,
it's attractive. I don't know anything about sports, but I always I remember thinking in high school or when my younger single years that guys who said they didn't like sports, it was an immediate turn off.
Didn't you have a boyfriend in high school?
Yeah, it always bothered me that he did not like sports. And I was like, why did it always gross me out that he didn't like sports? It's like, oh, because it's a mark of manliness. It's like, it's not only disorienting where men's interests are, but the competitiveness factor that women do find attractive in men. It kind of sums up a lot of things that women find interesting and attractive about men, that they're competitive, that they'll kind of go in on this battle on something, that they get ultra interested in the competition, that sort of thing. It's not just the sports ball, the ball goes through the hoop thing. It's no, it's totally everything that goes along with it. The training, the knowledge, the competitiveness, the men will literally just clash their bodies into each other to get a ball. There's something interesting. Sorry, people. Nature wins. Nature's undefeated. Father Time's undefeated, but so is nature. You're not going to get around that. Girls like that stuff. And doesn't matter how retarded you make it sound, you and your ex-nerd friends, you gather around in these little groups and you try to console yourselves that, well, after high school, sports matter less because just far fewer people are capable of playing a college sport, one that matters, basketball or football or baseball. But you could play one of the weak sports. Any college will take you because no one plays them. But in high school, the reason sports are important is because girls are attracted to a guy who plays sports. Same as you're attracted to a thin cheerleader. She's attracted to a guy that's not just got the body for sports, but has the mentality. Even if I remember playing in Sunday night basketball leagues through law school. I was in my young 30s. I'd join one now. And girls that guys put everything aside for an hour, and it's just I don't want to hear about the law school week coming up. I don't want to hear about the work week, the kids, bring the fam to the game, but it's all in. And you might nearly get in a fight during the game, but afterwards you're cool with the guy. That's also fascinating to women about men. With you 100 times. Also, I've noticed too, and maybe this is unfair, but I have noticed overall that guys who are not good in or do not play sports are really bad at confrontation.
Really bad.
They cannot handle it. They really, it's they shy away. They don't know how to handle it manly. They don't know how to deal with that. And for me, it's that's one of the things I do love, particularly about you, is that I've never seen you in a position when there's been a confrontation that you didn't handle it just very manly and respectfully. And I think that a lot of that is sports. You do deal with, clashing against people and trying to win. And there's something about that in young men that makes them handle confrontation. And it's almost ubiquitous, I would say. Every guy I've seen or met that is really bad at confrontation, he just didn't play sports for that much or at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next question. Let's see here. Since Francis likely won't be declared an anti-pope, do you think he will be anathematized and declared a heretic?
I hope so. I hope so. If things come clear,
that would be sweet.
Yeah.
I hate to be that way, but come on, that was rough.
Yeah.
Let's see here. God bless Tim and Steph. I heard the guys on PBD, Patrick David.
Yeah.
A podcast talking about feminism recently. Any chance of you appearing on there to promote the doc? Interestingly enough, Tim.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Tim did show Patrick Bet-David the documentary, and they thought it was too anti-feminist. They thought they said that we needed to water it down, make it softer for women, and our position all along is like, no, we're going to tell people the truth. They can hate it if they want to hate it, but it's not worth doing unless we're going to do this like very specifically and in the way that we want to do it. So I think that he did see it, or at least he saw the trailer. Maybe that he just saw the trailer, like the longer trailer. And their initial responses were, this isn't going to go anywhere. People are going to hate this because it's so anti-feminist, and you need to water it down a bit for people to be able to accept the message, which we will never do, ever. Yeah. I'd rather not do anything than do it that way. Will y'all ever move off locals? I can't support the ones that purchase children. Vivo Cristo Rey. The problem is like it's really tough for creators like Tim because there's not very many options. We got kicked off Patreon. We have gotten deplatformed on some other things. And so the options to monetize the podcast are very poor for us. Like there's not very many options for content creators. We do have DonorBox on his website, timothyjgordon.com, where they do allow you to do monthly payments. We also have a P.O. box on the website too. Some of the older people, they don't like doing things online, so they do it that way. But it's hard because it's like there's not very many options, and the most popular ones, they literally kicked him off because he refused to take down some anti-gay stuff. So we're always kind of in this awkward position of having to try to make this work with very limited options. Let's see here. What is the best argument for Catholicism aside from the papacy when debating Eastern Orthodoxy?
What do you mean? I mean,
besides papacy, what is the best argument against Orthodoxy?
I mean, you got to argue the issues. We don't have that many theology issues. So, I mean, since Eastern Orthodoxy is more or less Catholicism without the Pope, I mean, there are minor issues on leavened or unleavened bread that I think they exaggerate. There's the relatively minor issue on the filioque. There's relative issues on the we agree on the first 7 ecumenical councils, but they order them differently. We disagree as to when the 8th ecumenical council happened. We say the real one was 10 years after the one that they say happened. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, but since they are, by our estimation, mainly Catholics without the Pope, they have real valid bishops. They have real valid 7 sacraments. They have real priests. They have who stand in the shoes of one of the apostles. They have, from our perspective, a church. Benedict himself said you could call them a church. You can't call the Protestants a church. They're not apostolic. They don't have one Holy Catholic Apostolic. The Protestants have none of these marks. Okay. EOs have, as I told Jay Dyer, they're apostolic and they're holy, meaning they have priests and bishops who stand in the shoes of the apostles. They're validly ordained, and they have the real 7 sacraments. Now, where they fall short is they're not one, and they're not one, and it's not lower C Catholic because it's not one. So, the oneness is the big question. They don't even make a claim to oneness. And yet they agree that these 4 marks of the church come from the Nicene Council in the Nicene Creed. Okay, well, by their estimation, there's 14 autocephalous churches. Well, there's got to be one. They can't even make this claim. There's only one Christian sect that even claims, take us all, Catholics, Orthodox, Protestants, at our own word. There's only one that even makes the claim to have unity. Okay? So in addition to the Pope, you have the 1/Catholic marks of the church. Of those 4 marks, EOs lack those 2, 1 and Catholic. And guess where the oneness and the Catholicity primarily gets sourced? Through the papacy. So it all does come back to the papacy. That's their main difference. They're Catholics without the Pope. They would never say that, but that's what it is after having looked at it really closely again this summer.
Tim, what are the top 2 or 3 goals for our this year? How excited are y'all for your newest daughter? So many of you may not know. I'm currently pregnant with our 20th daughter, like, what is
Something like that.
Our 8th child, our 7th daughter.
Yeah. That's a good question. Thanks for asking it. One, to make What a Woman Is a hit. It deserves to be a hit. Everyone that I say, hey, go watch this, to all my influencer friends, many of them much larger than me, behind the scenes, I say, go watch it. It's going to be best doc or at least top 3 doc of yours of all time. Sounds like I'm puffing before they watch it. Then they watch it and they come back and they say, you were right. That's what Joel Webben did too. And that's what Gerald's going to do too. Gerald had not watched it as of going on his show on Crowder the other day. He's going to watch it. He's going to say the same thing. It's on a huge platform, and it's way outsized for spending only $250,000 making it. So it's just super high quality. So it's got all the right conditions. We just need to get a lot of eyes on it now. Go see this thing if you haven't on Candace Owens' show Twitter account on February 4th and 5th. It's going to be one of the best documentaries you ever see in your life. Getting a pile of eyeballs on it in the early part of the year, before March, before the first economic quarter of 2026, is one of my big goals. The other goal, and that is what I've been after for the last 5 years, that is the movie version of The Case for Patriarchy. That's one of the big goals of the channel. My second big goal for 2026 is this: bringing back the most applicable to America, the most realistic, the least LARPy version of Christian nationalism possible, subsidiarity or states' rights Christian nationalism, Catholic Republic. So I'm going to be leaning into this a lot in 2026 now that we've popularized patriarchy. And it's going to be far more popularized if I can accomplish goal number 1, get a pile of eyes on What a Woman Is, movie version of Case for Patriarchy. I'm going to move back to goal 2, which was my first book, the way that Christian nationalism works. You can't do it without states' rights. And that's what the current Christian nationalists are missing. They're right that Christian nationalism, we should have the Nicene Creed is something that holds the 50 states together. It's explicitly Christian. EOs, Prots, and Catholics can all agree. But each of the states must have returned to having an official sect of Christianity. And you need states' rights. You need the 10th Amendment for that. It's what the Christian nationalists are currently missing. I brought this to Joel Webben. He said, wow, this is big. And so that's the big goal, is leaning back into what type of Christian nationalism actually works for America. It's Catholic Republic style subsidiarity and states' rights, state sovereignty, Christian nationalism.
Have you ever considered a retrograde vacation, sort of like Church Militan's retreat at sea, but less gay and boomer-centric? We did do something when we first moved into the house where we had a bunch of people that watched the show over to our house, and we just had a fun barbecue. We had like a water slide. It was a super good time.
It was fun. Great people. 25 or 30 retrogrades showed up. After the Charlie Kirk thing, I'm a lot more. I don't think that was why. It went great, and I'm glad it went great because 25 to 30 super cool retrogrades showed up. It was a bit fast and loose. After Charlie Kirk got assassinated, I'm like, I don't think I would do something like that again. Sorry.
Let me get.
I love fun. We love fun. It's fun because retrogrades are the best people on the internet, best people in the world. I love big fans of the show. I've weeded out all the LARPs and all the dweebs and all the, obviously cultural Catholics alone. So it's just great people, which is why retrogrades meet each other, guys and gals, and get married. And that's why the matchmaking was such a success, but it's a bit risky to meet your audience at this point.
Yeah. A bit scary.
And I've rethought a lot of this stuff.
We had to take pictures of our house off the internet and stuff like that.
I was just it's not typical. I'm usually pretty defensive. I should not have brought a bunch of people here. I'm glad I did because we met some really cool people, but I wouldn't do it again. No matter how much fun
maybe something more formal, like a trip to Rome or something would be fun.
Yeah. Same risks.
Where can I get nice conservative clothing for wife? Okay, so I'll just give you one of my recommendations. Tim actually gets me a lot of dresses from this shop. They're Mormon. They're based out of Utah. Many of you might already know who they are, but it's called Ivy City Co. And
Beautiful.
I have basically almost all of their dresses because I love their stuff. But they're all pretty modest. A lot of their stuff, like I think I even have this one here. I wear to mass from time to time, but they have really nice stuff. And I'll tell you this for the ladies who are watching, because guys' eyes are glazing over right now. But the quality is very good. I never have any issues. It's like solid. They're like really, really, really well made, and they're beautiful dresses. And I wear a lot of them to mass. So Ivy City Co, check them out. They're Mormons out of Utah. But again, like I'm the type of woman, like a lot of Catholics women will ask me these things, and it's like it's hard to find things that are cute that I don't feel like I'm in like a gunny sack. Like I don't want to look like I'm like 85 years old wearing some like potato sack. I want to look and feel like, feminine. And so it's hard to find those dresses where it's like you're being covered and there's not some surprising feature like a plunging back, or like it's a tube top, but it's the right length. But this company, that I've noticed that everything's really pretty, everything's covered, and the dresses are actually really cute. So check those out for your ladies. If I'm married to a woman who is stubborn and argumentative, how can I introduce the topic of submission to her? I'm afraid of causing World War III.
If you're married to one, or if you're dating
he's
one?
married to a woman who's currently stubborn and argumentative, how can I introduce the topic of submission?
Well, you don't say. What you have to do is you have to impart the truth. It's not a tone thing; it's a truth thing. That every time a child backtalks his father when he owes obedience before he's come of age, it's a mortal sin against the fourth commandment. Same thing with a wife with her husband. When he gives a direct order and she backtalks, dawdles, or outright disobeys, this is a mortal sin. So if you're a secular guy, this isn't my audience. I'm talking to Catholics, or at least Christians. Anyone that believes the Bible is very clear. You just show her all the passages in the Bible. Show her Steph's book, Ask Your Husband, which pulls it. Just say, this is the chapter. You're mortal sinning when you disobey me. I mean, look, hell is the punishment. So Father Ripperger says this very clearly in our film, What a Woman Is. We'll have her watch that for free on February 4th and 5th. And or you could just read her the 8 passages in the New Testament that make it absolutely clear.
It really does come down to the maturity of the woman, whether or not she actually believes in God and whether she loves God. If those two things are in place, then there's no excuse. God made it very clear who's in charge and who's the head of the household. If you want to be a mature Catholic woman, you just have to do what God tells you to do, which is to honor and obey your husband. And one of the things that was easy for me was that, and I would give this advice to young men, date a girl who's way more into you than you are into her. But what that means is that like when we were dating, Tim and I early on, like he was obviously into me, but I was so into him, that works well in the dynamic, because it's like I wanted to do anything that made him happy. I wanted to like agree with his opinions. I wanted to please him. I wanted to stand out from all the other girls he was dating and make myself like, I want to do what you want to do. And that helps you as a young man, because you want like the girl to be invested in you so much that she just trusts you. Like Tim could have told me anything at that point in my life, and I really would have believed him, and I still do, because I trust him and I'm just really, really into him. So there's that. Also, I would say if you're already a married woman, I would give you this bit of advice. You are not allowed to deny your husband something that God has given to him in trust. God has given your husband leadership and the headship of your household. And for you to presume that you can step in and to deny him of a gift that God has given him is bold. And good luck with that. I would just say, stand out of the way. Like you're in no position to deny your husband things that God has given to him in trust. And sometimes that's difficult, but just remember, it's like, it's not up to you. It's up to God. And he made it very clear. Okay. What's the priority? Living in a red state or staying in a blue state with a TLM and amazing Catholic conservative community, friends, kids, etc.?
Look, this is a prudence issue. It's up to the man of the house. For me, living in a red state, living in an actual republic. There is a cost coming back here to this amazing, beautiful, forested, most Christian, most conservative of the 50 states. Is amazing, but it's like, man, I miss having my older brother, a couple miles away. I miss having all the friends I had when I taught at Garces. It was just crazy seeing all these people. It was, man, it's like we live a more solitary life out here. But for me, it's worth it to live in a real republic, where, I know what everyone thinks on my blog. The most liberal ones are like grudging Trump voters that are maybe center right. That's really, really important. You have to live among people that think like you. Having good friends and family nearby in Sodom or Gomorrah is not the way we're supposed to live. We're supposed to live around people that think like us.
Amen.
But it's up to you. This is why I say go to realestateforlife.org. Get out of your blue state, get to a red state, because you need to get your whole family to go with you, like the Oregon Trail. That's really beautiful. All of you get out together. Okay, that's the end of that answer.
And that's the end of that. Here's
because I don't tell you guys what to do with your own households on matters that are non-categorical.
If someone doesn't have a vocation in the clergy and cannot find a spouse, what place do they have in the church and community?
Keep trying to find a spouse. And obviously, you keep going to church, keep going to the sacraments, but there are only two terminal vocations, or two sacramental vocations, aka terminal. For, again, John Paul II, I was just texting on the side why John Paul II was so bad. The proto-Francis was JP2, contrary to his reputation. He made up these other two vocations. They're just nonsense, right? They're not terminal. They're not sacramental. Terminal meaning, you have a role in the church when you're a single young guy or a single young girl, or I guess a single middle-aged guy or girl. But it's not terminal, and it's not a sacrament. That's how you know it's not It's not sacramental because it's not terminal. It's not terminal because it's not sacramental. You're not there, and therefore it's not a real vocation. So you could say, well, de facto, someone that was searching for a wife or a husband his whole life didn't find her. Did he have no vocation? It's like, well, no, he had a vocation. He just kind of never found it. The vocation was either to the priesthood or to be a father, to be a nun, or to be a mother. And if you never found it, well, we can frustrate God's plans. God's plans are frustratable this side of Eden, this side of the fall, here in post-lapsarian creation. But there are only two real vocations, right? You go the ordained route or religious, if you're a woman, ordained or religious route, or marital vocation. And the rest of it is just looking to be emplaced in one of those.
Do you have a family member with SSA, and how do you handle that relationship with the kids?
I believe on your side of the family, there are a couple. I'm going to pin this on you. But I think
we have dealt with that issue before. Again, you're not going to, I will say this, you're not going to protect your kids from the world and just the things in the world that, like as Catholics, that we definitely stand against. I think that for our perspective,
well, not entirely.
Obviously there's some things you do.
Cavalier.
I just mean like things that are just like more mainstream. Like our kids do know what a trans is and like all this stuff. They've heard this stuff. We're not gonna like keep it from them. Our whole thing with our kids is that we just have we talk to them constantly. Our household is very communicative. So we are very strong with telling them like what the church says, why, not just that the church says things, but Tim's really good about not just saying this is what the church teaches, but he'll say, and this is why it's applicable, and this is why it's applicable, and this is why it should make sense to you. And when you go away from the church teaching on things like, SSA or even other things, divorce, things like this is what will happen to you. And this is what typically happens to people. So we're very, very, very thorough when it comes to just basically just these types of issue in general. And so far as like the kids go, like my family is pretty respectful, I would say, that they understand where we're coming from. So I don't think anyone's trying to like push it down our throats, because they know how we are, and we know that we will stand up for our faith. And so we're lucky to have like a respectful situation where everyone's just kind of not forcing an ideology because they know Tim is the head of the household and we have this perspective with the Catholic faith and how we live our lives. So when it becomes an issue where people are trying to force your kids to accept things or to acknowledge stuff, then you have an issue. Is that an adequate answer?
No, that's good.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, because it's like, all of us have family members. Like we started off with this show, not even just on this, like my entire Mexican side of the family is like, it's a mess, and it's like, there's some of them that I love and I still spend time with, but, I do have to tell my kids like, well, they're fallen away Catholics, or they're in they're not married to the person that they're like living with, or things like that we do have to protect our kids, and we don't allow that sort of thing in our house. So, it's just navigating just like the secular society right now with your kids, which can be tough, but communication is key.
Yeah. You got to, in the world, not of the world. So you can't go to a gay wedding, can't, endorse gays renting kids to do whatever perverse things to them they do. But, we do know people struggle with all walks of sin, and you explain that to your kids and you say none of these sins are acceptable, none of the grave ones, and people are all struggling with their own stuff. It's actually not that complex. Mm-hmm. The only way it's complex is why I did the show on formal versus proximate and remote material cooperation. You can't formally cooperate or proximately materially cooperate, and that's why if you want to you really separate the wheat from the chaff, go and
watch that show.
Go and watch that show. So can you go have lunch with an SSA family member or hug them? Of course. Can you go have lunch or in any way endorse an SSA family member and their gay lover? No, right? The same as can you go off with your grandpa who has an adulterous second union? Can you go have lunch with him? Yeah, one-on-one? Of course. Can you hug him? Yeah. Can you go to lunch with him while he's on a date with his adulterous second union? No. That becomes formal cooperation. So if you didn't see it, go and we need to put these on iTunes, by the way. The last couple of shows that we did before leaving for this 2-week trip, one of them constituted the cooperation show.
Okay, let me do that. We were having problems with YouTube. They weren't letting us download some of our shows. I don't know why. So I will, if you missed those shows, I'm going to get those up on podcast today. So the formal cooperation one is a really great one for just everybody, because we talk about not just, the divorce thing, and it's just what we're allowed to do, how far we go, we're allowed to do certain things. And Tim really gets into like a very specifically what the actual rules are. So that should be helpful. Okay. What advice do you have for getting physically strong without taking up excess time away from the family?
Get a weight set with the squat rack and a really complete weight set for your garage. You can go out and literally do sets throughout the whole day. You don't even have to set aside the hour. You can go. I'll go out after dinner, do two or three sets of this or that exercise. Go for a walk. Then Steph will be like, I'm going to go in and get some water because we do laps. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do 2 or 3 sets for 5 minutes. Then go for another walk and then do another 5 minutes. I mean, I literally just do it throughout the day.
Fitting in exercise in general
is easy.
We have 7 kids. Walking is a great way of doing that. Like Tim and I try to do, a normal times like 5 miles is what we try to do a day. And it's a good time for us to talk. We walk around our neighborhood. Our kids will be like down for a nap or doing whatever. And it's a really great time for us. And it actually is really, really, really good for you. So they say like walking, 5 miles is the equivalent of running 3. And it's so much more enjoyable.
Walking 4.3 miles, according to Walker's magazine, is the caloric burn exercise equivalent of running 3. It's a great translation rate.
Because running can be very estrogenic for men, right? It can actually like raise estrogen and lower testosterone.
Running longer than 20 minutes is always estrogenic.
Yeah, so
and lowers testosterone.
Jimmy Edwards says, I've been an OCIA. What is
Yeah,
just,
it's RCIA. Yeah,
oh, it's RCIA. I don't understand the OCIA
They
thing.
just change it.
Oh, they changed it. Okay.
Just gay post-conciliar stuff. Go on.
It used to be RCIA, Jimmy. So when people say OCIA, I'm like, what is this? I've been in OCIA for over a month now. When I have my first communion, I want to do everything properly, but my church hasn't offered the wine portion of the Eucharist since COVID. What should I do?
Well, of course, you're talking to. I don't walk or talk like one too often, but I am actually a trad. You don't need the double species communion. It's actually, when you receive at the TLM, you're just receiving the Eucharist. So that's a more Novus Ordo-y concern than I entertain. I'm not saying it's evil to have the second species of the Eucharist, but one molecule of either substitutes for all of it. Even the Orthodox have intinction. So this is a very old practice, going back to Jesus himself, going back to the earliest days of the church. You really just need the Eucharist.
What is intinction again, for people who aren't familiar?
It's the wine being absorbed on the bread.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'm just giving an example.
Right.
Even the Eastern Orthodox and some Eastern Catholic modes of reception, I believe, which is why they use a spoon. My whole point was, you really just need the Eucharist. You don't need that's a very Novus Ordo concern to have, and that's fine because you're new in RCIA. But you don't have to have it.
Dr. Worm says, "How are you feeling about Nick Fuentes?"
Same as always. I support what he's doing. I want to talk to him about what I was saying, the non-LARPy, the states' rights version of Christian nationalism. I want to talk to him about the large overlap on masculinism and patriarchy, and talk to him some about the red pill, because I know he's a bit friendlier with those guys than I am. But I support, broadly speaking, what he's doing. We have different, I'm more Jeffersonian, he's more Hamiltonian, but same as always. And he's supposed to come back on the show. I'd like to bring him out to the studio. We'll see if that happens.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
I liked Candace mentioning Kobe on her last show.
What'd
I felt the same sadness she described when he died. Thoughts on Kobe, his Catholic faith, and death?
I'm a big Kobe fan, and
we saw him in mass like a few years before he died with his family, and he was sitting at the very back of the church. I'd heard that Kobe Bryant is, by the way, for sports ball guys who aren't knowing who we're talking about, but
for you dweebs out there, it's Kobe Bryant. Kobe. When
he died in that helicopter crash, wasn't it widely reported that he had been to mass even earlier that day?
Confession. I hope he's good. I don't know. I mean, he's the second greatest basketball player of all time. I'm a big fan. He's the greatest Laker of all time, and I'm a fan of pre-LeBron Lakers. I can't support the Lakers when they have Lucifer playing for them, but I was going to say a joke they make about Michael Jordan. Some of the players call him Black Jesus, which I don't support, but I do call LeBron Black Lucifer. I'm a big fan of the way Kobe played. I'm a big fan of his mentality, the so-called Mamba mentality, how he went so hard. Other guys would be going to the strip club or getting back at 4 a.m. And on the Redeem team, they say they would cross shoulders with Kobe leaving the hotel. And he'd be like, "Where are you guys going?" "I'm going to work out." He'd have gone to bed early, and he's going to work out at 4 a.m. And he just shamed them into going with him, and they stopped going to the strip club. So I hope he had quit the adultery. There's lots of opinions on that.
My grandma was one that was like, she never ever believed that, right? Like that like she.
He admitted it.
I know, but I remember at the time my grandma, who we just gave the story about the funeral, she'd always be like, "He's innocent." Like she loved
he's
Kobe.
He's admitted he. She's like, "No, I don't believe."
Oh no, mijo, no. Every time I hear Kobe, it always kind of reminds me of my grandma, because she was always like defending Kobe out of nowhere. We'd just be having dinner, and all of a sudden she'd be defending Kobe Bryant. I'm like, okay, grandma.
Yeah.
We're having enchiladas. Let's calm down a little bit.
I hope, I'm not the judge of his soul. He's a great basketball player, was a healthy face for the league, was a healthy ethic of a bygone era, where you try hard all the time. You hate the players on the other team instead of pal around with them, and don't try during the All-Star game. He always wanted to win. I hope he made a sincere confession and conversion of heart and was true to his wife after he messed up. On the other hand, my brother said this the other day. How do these adultery guys really turn it around? Isn't it once you pop, you can't stop usually, but with true conversion in Christ, all things can be made anew. So I hope that's where he was. I don't know. I've heard from some sports reporter insiders, I've heard both ways. I hope what I'm hoping for.
Mm-hmm. What are the best?
Weird today.
Looks fantastic. Tim got a haircut. You should show him without your thing. It's actually much shorter, but you can't really tell. There it is.
It's just weird.
It's fantastic. You have fantastic hair.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
What are the best books for TLM seekers and for those interested in philosophy and theology?
Any of Ed Fazer's books on philosophy are great. Aristotle's Revenge. Any of Craif's introduction to philosophy books are great. The Rhine Flows into the Tiber tells what was really going on with the new Mass at Vatican II.
What is the one that we read from Scott Hahn together that was pretty good?
Oh yeah, that's a bit more the Eucharist book. What's it called?
Is it the last
fourth
cup? Oh, Andrew's book is going to be coming out. Andrew Orozco.
Andrew Orozco's book. I gotta get to. Andrew Orozco's book will be great apologetics for why not Protestantism, why not Eastern Orthodoxy, why Roman Catholicism. Andrew Orozco's book. It's going to be great. I actually have to do some editing for that.
It's called What and They Will Be One, I think.
Yeah.
It's coming out. We've read a bit of that. It's going to be great for people, specifically people who are interested in, why not? People keep asking, why not Orthodoxy? Everyone knows why not Protestantism, but he really gets into it, and he is a brilliant guy. So we're really excited about that book.
Yeah, there are others I'm just forgetting. But yeah, Andrew's book, we're going to be stumping it pretty hard starting next month.
Mm-hmm. All right, let me make sure we haven't missed anybody.
How long have we been live?
2 hours and 15 minutes. That was a really nice super chat show.
Yeah, great. Thank you all for the super chats. Thanks for all the donations. Thanks for anyone who became a locals. Look, we need it to keep going, to keep doing this. This is a really unique channel. We don't always try to be unique. It's just, the brands of patriarchy and Christian nationalism, realistic Christian nationalism, states' rights Christian nationalism is really out of favor. Big continent-wide LARPy, let's get an emperor Christian nationalism is bad in principle and will be bad in practice. The one we can actually do is, I'm glad someone asked, what are the two big goals for the channel this year? To see a just audience come to exist for what a woman is, hopefully in the next month or two. And that's goal number one. And then goal number two is to revisit Catholic Republic.
We have some love, last super chat here from an EO, Eric Vigilant. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we do love you guys and you EOs out there. And we have a lot we agree about for a reason. I mean, we love Protestants too, but and I was trying to be fully respectful. I know you guys disagree, but we characterize EOs as just Catholics without the Pope. So there's a lot of agreement, and you guys are really good on the WQ, the woman question.
Any idea what we're going to be doing now that we're back the next week or so? Shows?
Yeah, I have some ideas. I don't really want to say right now. It's not one of those shows. There's some guests that are going to be coming on. I'm going to be going on Eric Kahn's show. I'm going to be should have another collab with E. Michael Jones really soon.
Joe Enders is coming to visit our family.
Joe Enders and I will do a live show or two. He's coming to visit us. So that was one of them. Next, yeah, well, he'll be sitting next to me here. Joe Enders of Red Top Report. EMJ should be really soon. I hope to have Fuentes out to Mississippi and change his mind about the American South. Show him why he's wrong about the American South. The most noble part of the Union. And then there'll be some great solo shows I have coming. But yeah, that's enough for now. Look for the Gerald Apologizes on Crowder's channel. That should drop today or tomorrow. I guess at latest on Monday. God bless you all. Thanks for the super chats. Deus Volt. Glad to be back, and we'll see you soon. See you on Monday.